Hello and welcome to System Check, where we check out those funky TTRPG systems and see if it's a fit for you and your group. And in this episode, we're checking out the wild world of Mappa Mundi. Before we begin, I want to make clear that this copy was kindly provided to me by the rad folks over at Free Sale Studios. No money was exchanged, and this video will be made with all parties understanding it's just my thoughts, explanations, and personal opinion. I gotta say off the bat, this is such a gorgeous book. My one wish and future goal is that I can one day get a better set for the photography of the physical products I get, because this is just so beautiful and my current setup just cannot capture that properly. And whilst I'll explain what they are later, the art of the journey cards are just fabulous. Also in the box they have the little ribbon things that help lift the book and cards out of the book, and those are always fun for my ADHD brain. With all that said, what is Mappa Mundi? Mappa Mundi is an exploration and ecology game in which you take on the role of various scholars tasked with exploring a world lost to the wilds in the world of Ecumene. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced, but that was one of the words not in the pronunciation guide they have. To read from the book's introduction, Ecumene has experienced and now begins to recover from catastrophic environmental effects. It has lived through wars and social upheavals that have changed the way people interact with and understand one another. And crucially, it has survived these changes in one form or another, and now seeks to deepen its understanding of itself. Of course, we have our safety tools first and foremost, which, as always, if you decide the system is of interest, be sure to read through those first. I will give extra mention now on the content warning for potential things you may experience within the game, as it does include stuff like potential violence towards animals and discussions of colonialism, diasporic and or refugee communities. Now, the game itself. To play, you'll be needing dice ranging from D4s to D12s, a coin or a D2, your character sheet, and of course something to take notes on, which will be very vital for this game in particular. For we don't play as any form of warrior or mighty mage, we instead take on the role of various forms of scholars dedicated to research. The classes in this game are referred to as licenses, and they refer to your particular skill set and expertise. Your options are the archivist, the diviner, the fixer, and the guardian. Each class has their own strengths and weaknesses, as well as further specializations as you progress and grow. Let's quickly go over how we make a character. We start of course with the name and description. This is your flavour and your motivations as a character. Step 2 is the before mentioned licenses, and as stated here, it is easier to gain skills related to your starting license, but none of them lock you out of getting those skills later on. Step 3, assign your training, and these are your stats, which you assign a dice value to, referred to in this as bones. The trainings are traversal, observation, deduction, and exploration. Your starting bones are 2d4s and 2d6s, which you then set to your stats, with 2 dependent on your chosen license and the other 2 are freely available to put where you like. Training is what you'll be using for the majority of your checks. You don't have any modifiers, which can make things a lot simpler. You just roll the dice associated with the training and your result is whatever's on the die. Step 4. Choose your skills from your licensed skill path, and yes, we have skill trees. In this game, you don't have access to every skill. You have set ones and obtain more as you progress, with some stronger skills having requirements of prior skills. Skills can be used in a few different ways depending on the DM's discretion. If you can justify its use in a situation, you can either reduce the difficulty of the check or use it to instantly succeed on the check. And step 5. Choosing your interactions, and these are what help define your character's gameplay style. These are special actions that can be used to prompt and reveal monster and creature behaviours. Not all interactions are going to work out well depending on who or what you're interacting with, but these alongside the skills are your key way of making your way through this world and learning about its creatures. And with those, you'll have the basics of your character. I've mentioned progression, but I haven't really yet mentioned exactly on how you grow, and I really like how they've done this. Your training grows the more you use it. Once you've succeeded or failed on a certain number of checks making use of that training, you can upgrade your bone dice to the next tier. There are a few rules to this, like the first dice bone that is upgraded has to be your license's strength, and your weakness must always be upgraded last, and can never exceed any other bone. We also have expertise points, which are gained each time the player makes use of their skills. Each skill is tied to your training. So each training has its own expertise points, which can only be spent on the skills in that training group. And these points can be spent on unlocking more skills in your licensed skill path. And these then lead to eventual unlocking of a specialization, which requires half the skills leading to it on its path. We also have endorsements, which are awarded to players who have gained specializations across 2 different licenses. You may have noticed nothing I have said thus far relates to combat, because this game doesn't have any. But that doesn't mean you're safe. This game has systems for injury, sickness, and health. These range from minor injuries to transformative injuries, resulting in permanent changes to your character. What I really love about this character creation is the strengths and weaknesses alongside the more specific skills. Each player will have their own role and be able to cover for and be covered for their weakness. The synergy is just absolutely fantastic. Now, for the GMs, don't worry, you are covered super nicely. This book is loaded with helpful tips and instructions for running a campaign. They have a very useful description of all the different regions and what sort of environments they are, and I absolutely love them. My one little complaint is that whilst the book contains fantastic instructions for creating unique creatures and such, they don't have any example of pre-builds you could use, and whilst they do exist in the adventure books they've made, I think that would be a nice thing to have. Next up, I want to talk about the journey deck, and I love this system. These are a series of cards that make up each journey, made of landscapes and encounters within the journey. And the art for these are just gorgeous. Like, mwah. Credit to illustrator Joel Kilpatrick for absolutely nailing the style in this. Again, I really gotta say they did fantastic with making a brilliant structure for making sessions, and with the deck you can have both nice and prepared sessions, or have a last minute one because you got too distracted looking at another system that just dropped and you hyperfixated on it until the last minute. Definitely not speaking from experience there. A session, or chapter, is structured into 3 phases. The first being the research phase. The journey deck is assembled and players do what research they can on their target. We then move to the journey phase, in which, armed with the information, the players make their way through the wilds in search of their target. Then finally, the encounter phase, where the players engage and learn firsthand about the creature and understand it. This structure isn't set in stone, however, and can be adjusted and tweaked to work to everyone's liking. And in my opinion, the nicest thing about this is how the players are encouraged to work with the DM to further expand and fill out the details of the world, building it up as they explain how they want to try and traverse and deal with the encounters. Everyone truly contributes to the story. We also have the fate point system, where the DM awards players points for things like completing in-game actions, creative thinking, and good role-playing, and these points can be used to alter in-game situations. The number required varies depending on how large a change it is, but with enough you are able to make a fate check. You flip a coin or use a d2, with the result changing the outcome. These fate points can also be spent unlocking new interactions for your character, adding yet another method of growth. So that's Mappa Mundi, an exploration and ecology RPG. A fantastical game about discovering the world, and maybe even yourself. I really like the system and have enjoyed running it for some friends. It's not one that's going to be for everyone though, but for those that it is for, you will absolutely love this. It's not a fast-paced action game, but it's truly a unique experience that I'll continue to cherish. And of course, if you wish to pick up the game for yourself, I've left a link for where you can buy it in the description below. And again, thanks to Freesale Studios for sending this to me. It was an absolute delight. So what do you think about this system? Is it something you'd want to try? And what other systems would you like to see me cover? Be sure to let me know below, and if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like. I'll be doing more videos on Mappa Mundi, covering character creation and GMing it in the future. So if you are interested in this system, maybe subscribe so you can see the videos as soon as they come out. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Devout, and I'll see you next time. Bye!